Welcome back to Module 2. In this module, we will be discussing data warehouse design engineering. Let me quickly bring my screen. So here we'll be covering on the basic principles of dimensionality. We briefly discussed on facts and dimension tables in Module 1. We'll touch on the data warehousing world, what this means, what are primary and foreign key concepts, and we'll introduce the case study that we'll be using throughout the other modules to build up the data warehouse and then dimension and fact tables on top of it. So now you see, these are the basic principles of dimensionality. So as we discussed, and why any business user would want to have the data warehouse to make the data-driven decisions. So to make the data-driven decisions, there has to be some measurements which can be quantified. And to those measurements, there has to be some dimension context. Say suppose this is number that is getting displayed on the screen 4566. So it will not have any meaning unless there is some context given to it. Say suppose 4566, it can be a dollar value, it can be count of something, or it could be any number which can talk on the sales or salary. Now if I add dollar to it, it has added some context that it is not a count definitely, but it is some amount or the dollar value. Now it could be sales, it could be salary. So according to this, there has to be some context as well associated to the dimensions or the facts that we are looking at. Typically, any dimensional insights that anyone would want to infer from the data warehouse, these are few examples. Say you want to know what is the average sales by product category by year, what is the average expense on marketing by campaign, what is the annual salary by rank, by department, by year. Now here you see these are the sentences, or these are something outcome or the insight that anyone would want to get from data. The red highlighted, so average sales from this sentence is the measurement. So sales is something which we can quantify as the number. So what is the average expense? Again, this is the quantifiable measured number, the average expense, and the average annual salary as well. So until and unless we don't have context to this as in standalone average sales, it doesn't add value. What average sales, of what average sales, what expenses. So for that, we need the dimensional context. Now here you see for average sales, the dimension context is we want to know the sales by product category, and also another context is we want to know by year. And average expense on marketing, again, we need to know by each campaign what is the average expense. Annual salary also, we want to know by rank, by department, by year. So these are the dimensional context associated to the measurements. So in data warehouse world, to make the data-driven decision, there has to be measurement along with the context through which one can infer the right decision. So here, what we call it as facts and dimension tables. So the measurement that we talked on, the analogy, those are the facts in data warehousing, and the dimension context associated with those measurements are the dimensions. And this data that is stored into the tables is known as the fact table. So all the measurable data that is stored in the table is fact tables. It could be salary, revenue, sales, or number of years. And these are the examples of dimensions: product, department, year, employee, and all those data associated with these dimensions is stored in dimension table. Now coming to the keys. There are two broad categories of the key. One is the primary key and foreign key. We'll discuss on other keys as well. Those are surrogate key, which will come into the data warehousing concept. So primarily, we'll focus on this. What is primary key? So primary key is the unique identifier of each of the record in the table. So on the right hand side, you see a customer table. So each of the customer is identified with a unique customer ID, that is a 3-digit number. So these are the unique primary keys. So it could be a single database column as well. In few of the cases, there could be multiple columns which uniquely identify a record. And then comes the second is the primary foreign key. So foreign key, the basic funda to remember is it is a some other table's primary key. Here in this example, you see this is the order table. And then this has the records of all the purchases or the orders done by customers. So in this, the primary key is the order ID, while the foreign key becomes the customer ID from the customer table. So these key establish the relationship between the different tables. Now, over the course, what we'll be discussing is we'll be taking a case study of a fashion brand, Glamrec. Now, fashion brand Glamrec is a e-com sales in the fashion industry, and then you see there are different functions associated with this brand, where the sales would be focusing on all the customer purchases, tracking all the orders. There would be marketing team who would be running the different promotions or campaigns. There is a supply chain function managing the stocks level and then doing the vendor shipment and everything. Human resources for all the internal onboarding or the employee performance management, seeing the hiring trends or the payroll insights. In finance and revenue department for monitoring the transactions. Now this department will be responsible for monitoring all across refunds, revenue trends, as well as the salaries and other things associated with the employees. So this is just the introduction of the case study. So leveraging this in the upcoming modules, we'll be designing the facts and dimension tables for this industry, for this use case. Post that, till now we have not introduced any of the technologies. We talked on the concepts of ETLs, on dimension modeling, facts and dimension tables. So we'll be focusing on now technology, where we'll use the technology to implement this. We'll be primarily focusing on the GCP as a platform, where I will introduce the GCP platform. On top of it, we'll focus on the data warehousing service that is available on GCP and also the ETL services that are there. So see you in next module.